Olá, welcome to the Innovation for the Future Game World Builder interview. Today with Matteo. Matteo, thank you for accepting this invitation to have this conversation with me.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Matteo, you have been creating, manifesting a new game world, Play Fight. Can you tell more about what is Play Fight and how is the story? What is the story on on the back of Play Fight?
Oh, how is the story? Okay, so if I need to squeeze what's play fight in a short sentence, it would be rediscovering a natural way to connect among humans. And by doing that, discovering that there is a lot that can be seen in the way we live our life while watching the way we play fight.
Mm.
Like a very raw, unpolished way where the different parts of the brain enact and and interact with myself and with the other. And by observing how I do it, I can actually see parallels with life. And if I change certain aspects of how I play fight, I can bring that change in my daily life and therefore feeling more empowered in what maybe normally I struggle with. That would be it in very short. Now the story behind it. There is the official story and an unofficial story. Which one you want to know?
I want to know the story. I want to know the story that you embodied, that are embodied in you. Mm.
So they are both they both happened. They are both real, but the birth date of Play Fight I associated to an event that happened in Portugal 8 years and some months ago. It was the 19th of November 2020. No, sorry, 2016, I think, or 17. I don't remember so well. And the reason why that was the birth, it was because is when the backbone of this practice of play fight, the rituals that makes it and enable people to do it in a very safe and conscious way, were born from the first time. But I indeed didn't born with the idea of like, okay, now I sit and I design something. Not at all. It was coming from a personal longing of connection towards another human being, a friend of mine, which probably you also know in Yogo,
Mhm.
Yogo from Boom, and I knew him since a few years. At least we knew each other since 4 or 5 years. But my perception was that our connection was mostly mental. Um, it would arrive to a certain depth and then bounce and go back up. And I find this person extremely inspiring. He achieved amazing things in his life, and I always wanted to discover more. Who is this human, or what makes this human so unique that he created such beautiful things in his life? And somehow I realized that this talking with him was not fulfilling. So out of like a complete out of the blue intuition, I asked him to play fight with me. So like, hey, let's wrestle. I think I just called it wrestle at the time. And and he said, okay, sure, why not? And so it was in a moment where it was just me and him in a beautiful place, but really ugly floor. So it was rough floor with edges and parts that could have been actually dangerous. So I said, okay, let's try to go slow, gradual, and make sure that we don't hurt each other. And so we started slow, but soon we actually started to increase the speed, increase the intensity, and we were, pushing each other here and there. And but at the same time, there was always care. Like I never felt in danger. even when the intensity was there, I felt like we are taking care of each other, and I'm taking care of myself and he's taking care of himself. And we went on and on and on. I didn't even know how long we went on until we were literally exhausted. Like we didn't have any more breath. And in that moment, I was lying on the floor with short breath, and I reached out to him with my hand so that he could pull me towards him, and I wanted to give him a hug. So he did, and he pulled me out, but then we didn't let go of the hand. Somehow this hand remained solid, a solid grip between us. And then we hugged, and then naturally the other hand slided around this hand, as if the right hand in that moment was our right hand, was the strength that we shared, and the left hand was a soft embrace around that core of strength. And I remember telling him, like, wow, Diogo, I so much appreciate to feel you, to be with you, like to look at you in your eyes in these moments where in the middle of weird positions I was connecting to you, and I felt safe, and I really appreciate of how much safe I felt, and that's also thanks to you. And I don't remember precisely the words, but he said something that for him was very touching, because he normally has some difficulties to connect with men in general, like the sense of like with women it can open much more easily than men, and that in that moment without any words he felt much more open, and I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. And somehow my longing for connection towards him without spending almost any words was fulfilled. I was like, oh, wow, I want more of this. The funny thing is that another friend of ours, Juliana, maybe you know also her, um, she was sitting maybe 3, 4 meters far from us. Of course, we didn't even notice that she was there. And she came close to us, and she was like, guys, can I share something? I was like, Sure. And she said, I saw you from the outside. It was this beautiful place, or rather full of windows. And she thought we were going to kill each other. She thought like, oh, something really bad just happened and they're fighting, you know? So she ran inside to stop us, as she used to do it with her children. Whenever they fight, she go there, she intervened, but she noticed that we were smiling, and she was so confused. So she just sit and she just looked at us. And this was so beautiful because she said that it was like watching a movie, but the highest moment of the movie continuously, because sometimes she was feeling fear that we would hurt each other. Sometimes was feeling like, oh, joy, I wanted to jump in. Sometimes even jealousy, envy, sadness, anger. She said she felt everything. And but the things that touched me the most was that she shared that her children at that time, she has a daughter of 10, she had a daughter of 10 and a son of 6. Now they grew up. But at that time, they used to fight physically a lot. Like whenever, one wants a toy and the other one wants it too, they would just fight. And what she would do is to stop it. And she would literally like come on the way and even shout at them like, you should stop that. This is not good. You hurt yourself. You should not be violent and whatever. And in that moment, she said like, I just realized how wrong is this that I'm doing, because this is their natural aggressivity. This is their natural life force. And this is the most natural way that they actually solve their conflicts, by physical confrontation. Now, of course, sometimes it goes bad and one of the two bump somewhere and they bleed and they cry, and then it's stressful for me. But if there would be a way to let them do it in a way which is not violent and not destructive, this could be an amazing expression of themselves. And you know what? From now on, the next time that they are going to fight, I'm going to tell them, okay, now we do it, but we do it right. And I want to do it like you have been doing. And I was like, wow, all of this just by watching us. That's amazing. Yeah, so it really warmed my heart to hear this and to have this privilege to see somebody that was seeing us. So basically, she was not talking about us. She was talking about herself and the process she went through. And that made me connect to her. So I was not just connected with Diogo throughout our play fight, but I was also connected to Ju through the sharing that she had about what she lived by watching us. And that was extremely touching for me. And I was like, I want more of this. I literally want more of this. And then I asked myself, like, what are the the most essential elements that happen in this play fight that I can reproduce and invite other people and bring the same structure. And the first thing was the invitation, the fact that I invited Diogo saying like what I long for. And I said, I long for connection and I want to go gradually in, but then also express our intensity if we want. So clarity in the invitation, not manipulative, where a no is completely welcome. The second was the encounter, where there is self-care and care for the other. So the purpose is to connect with one another, but also making really sure that we are safe while doing it. The third one was the appreciation, this moment where we were holding each other's hands, we were looking each other in the eyes, and we share something that we were seeing in the other that was touching us. So this moment that in a way, rationally can even be confusing because you're just been fighting. So supposedly being against somebody else, and then you're appreciating your opponent. Mm-hmm. And lastly, the fourth part was what now we call the feedback. So receiving back the feelings from the other person they've been witnessing. So having somebody, at least one person, that is there holding space for that. Because it's also good for safety, maybe there is an dangerous object, so you want to have somebody that protects you from hitting that object. It might happen that in a play fight you don't realize where you are, so it's good to have a third person at least. Yeah, and hearing from them really about what they lived inside while watching this. This is the essence of it. And I started to invite friends, more friends, because I realized that it was so fulfilling for me to connect with dear people which are dear to me, that I could go even deeper with them. Yeah, and then what happens is that some people started to say like, hey, but what is this? What's the name of this? I love it. I want to learn it. I want to offer it to other friends. So how does it work? And then slowly the things evolved. Actually, it was a friend. I met this guy in Sweden where I offered my first workshop of, I think I call it at that time, conscious wrestling. And he said, no, this is not wrestling. He's from UK, so I trusted him. Because wrestling is, a bit theatrical. There's a bit of fake thing and so on. You should not go for wrestling. You should go for play fighting. And I'm like, I never heard this word before. What's that? Like, it's what cubs do, puppies do, kitties do, children do. That's by English dictionary what they do. Like, they rough and tumble on top of each other. There's no winner or loser. They don't do it to win. They do it to express themselves, and it should be done in a safe way. And I'm like, okay, yes, I like it. Make total sense. So this is play fight. But since it's not just play fight, it's not, anybody can play fight. It's not, nobody can claim the name play fight. It's by English dictionary. It's there. It's invented by nature. So what I did, it was adding my surname to it, so Tangi play fight, to specify that this is the one that has the rituals and has the purpose of working on oneself. And of course, being great, feeling good, having fun, but always with this idea of like, okay, we do it properly, we do it with care, we do it safely, and we have this curiosity towards this other human being and not trying to win over this other human being. That's the main aspect of it.
Thank you, Matteo. As you go with the story, I also connect with the story. The play fight Arrive in Me has play fight, already has play fight in Orada, where Ju is part in a Possibility Lab. My first Possibility Lab in Orada was day with Michele and Michele, was day that I experimented in the church, in the and that I experimented the play fight. And after we did in your place, with the men's lab, the men's lab, yeah. And it was really amazing as you go forward with the story, I was relating also with my story in play fight and my experience and where it went, yeah. And I really connect with that, with the perspective of how I appear in the space has a lot of how I appear in life. And that is a very strong connection. In my experience, I also experienced that. I experienced that the assumptions that I bring to the space, that all the stuff that is there, the fears, and It was really, really a very interesting experience. And between men, it's completely different in my context that when we are doing with women in the space, that we are mixing. And
Yeah.
it's a completely different context because of that hidden assumptions that are in the bottom, like I'm stronger than a woman. That was bullshit so many times. That was really amazing. And yeah, that was really interesting to have these sensations, how that playing with in that conscious way, how we go to the space really brings a lot of information about myself and about who I am and what kind of assumptions and beliefs and hidden stuff I have inside me. And thank you for giving birth to something that is at the same time playful, very playful, and very deep, and with that really develops connection. I remember, I think it was after the men's lab that I arrived and proposed to my children doing that. And we, in the living room, we designed the space and start doing together. It was really fun. But they are so small at that time that was really unfair, like an unfair relation between them works. But when I was with them, it was really, really unfair. It was really cool to have a completely um, way of connecting with them using PlayFight. And thank you for that. Can you share a little bit more? Because PlayFight you today is all over the place. It's in a lot of countries, a lot of people is doing. Can you share a little bit? What is the kind of organization? What is the team? How do you guys organize your for bringing PlayFight and doing a little bit of the game world, of the structure of the game world that comes from Matteo until what is the structure now and what you are planning to do. Yeah, like with more this perspective of game world builder, that you
Okay.
talk about the story of how is manifesting, and now it's a completely different context with thousands of people using all over around. Can you go from that from the beginning to what is there, and maybe talk a little bit about the next steps, the future plans?
Yeah. Um, the Before going into the answer, you said something that I found really interesting. You said it was completely unfair when you were in with your children, because clearly you have a body which is way stronger than them, bigger than their, and but this is actually one of the beauty of play fight that again resemble life, because sometimes life is not fair, and we are really sometimes as humans like, oh, this is not fair, it should be fair. Like, no, it doesn't, it's not the way it works. We are all different, you know. I can meet somebody which is 20 centimeter 30 centimeter bigger than me, and then that's not fair, we are not equal. But it will be never that we are equal. But the point is that this equality can open spaces for growth that equality will not give. If we will all be the same, we will not grow as much as in a world where we are all different. Because I'm forced to see a different perspective towards things and therefore expand mine. That's the only way for growth, is seeing that diversity brings that. And lately I read a quote, something about conflict, how conflict, according to this person, I don't remember what was his name or their name, is one of the most effective vehicles of growth, because you don't just are exposed to diversity, you're confronted to diversity. A conflict, it comes when you have an opinion and I have a different opinion, and then we are putting it in face of one another and like, okay, now what? We have this diversity. And of course, I can go into a conflict in a destructive way, meaning my opinion is better than yours, therefore I need to demolish yours. And that's not the healthy way of dealing with conflicts. The healthy way of dealing with conflict is like, okay, there is a tension because these diversity are bringing tension, but the tension is inside of me. So in the moment that I have the courage to look inside and ask myself, what is this tension coming from? Why am I not able to see this diversity just as it is, just as diversity? Why am I attached to what is my perspective? why I don't see value in the other person's perspective. Those are like huge questions that in a play fight, you're just like confronted all day on. And it's so beautiful because it becomes thanks to the play, it becomes a different relationship to conflicts. Conflict becomes in a way more fun, more something that I can actually, wow, having this curiosity of exploration. And that's what I really try to inspire people, that come with your problems, but you will change the relationship to your problems. The problems won't change. You necessarily don't change, but the relationship between you and what you're struggling with can completely change. And therefore the effect of it. In the moment that I don't see the problem anymore as a problem, then it's no more a problem. How amazing is that? Not necessarily I need to change the problem. I can just really change your relationship about the problem and see that as an opportunity, as a challenge that can lead me to grow. But of course, I'm saying probably obvious things, but I love the way that Play Fight enables to feel all of this in a very embodied way, like straight from the body. It's not thinking, it's not talking, it's body, 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 body.
That is also very important point of play fight, because there is no conversation. We speak in a completely different language, and we speak with the body and with other bodies, not with the intellectual body.
Yeah.
And that is huge, as you said. Bring your own problems, and you change your relationship with the problem, or you don't have a problem. Like the guys in U Theory are playing with that, are really designing for people in teams to go in social fields and have a way of tuning with the field that is not with the mind, but with the body, with themselves as a social body, as a social team. And that is a huge thing. I think it's one of the important things that we have in the moment for us as a collective to go forward. We need to know the things from a completely different perspective. And play fight is also put us training that kind of knowing, that kind of muscles to know
exactly.
in a completely different way. Yeah, I relate with that in my experience. Thank you. Yeah.
I like that you talk about muscles, because I use often this kind of connection. If I want to build muscle, if I want to get bigger with my muscle or mass, I need to destroy the muscles. If I don't stress the muscles and I don't create micro traumas that break the muscle fibers, then my body will not build bigger and stronger. Will just build exactly the same, or will even demolish it, because it's in its intelligence, the body says, like, why should I maintain a certain mass if there is no need of certain mass? I'm going to dismount it because it's less effort. But if you do challenge that mass and you do challenge your body, then the body is like, okay, next time I need to be readier, therefore stronger. Same things we can do it with our relationship muscles, as you said.
Thank you.
So I can try to answer your question also, like knowing that play fight is on a constant evolution, and even if me as a very embedded and imbued, like I'm completely soaked in play fight, my perception of time is different than somebody seeing it from the outside, because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 8 years. It's like a lot. It's 1/4 of my existence, And but if you see it on a bigger scale, if you see other practices, like yoga, tai chi, whatever other things, like they have times which are like 1,000 of years, centuries at least. Even like the most recent martial arts, I think that one of the most recent ones is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or rather Aikido. They still have decades of history before forming themselves. So play fight is still a very baby. And the movement connected to it is also a baby. But I can share with you briefly that at the beginning, I felt so much on fire. And fire is a little bit my element. If you like the looking at life throughout the lens of the elements, I'm definitely fire. So when I get passionate about something, I'm on it. And I move mountains in order to achieve this that I really long for. So I was working to organize events, show what it was about, making videos, delivering events, making contacts, making partnerships. enormous amount of time I dedicated to it. And then I had a son. So my capacity to dedicate time to that was all of a sudden chopped in half, and that half was even influenced by my sleep deprivation. So my capacity to actually dedicate energy as I used to do it was gone. And therefore I needed to ask for support. So I asked for help, and somebody connected with a person. And it was funny because two people actually at the end seemed like could be one of the two could take this role of supporting me into this. And one had all the checks ticked, like know how to do this, know how to do this and this, I need this, I need that. Fantastic. On the paper, the perfect person. The other one, like, no, but a lot of eagerness to actually learn and support. And I was like, okay, well, let's try to move forward with both and see how it goes. And after 2 weeks, the one that was the perfect on the paper just disappeared, literally disappeared. And then after maybe, I don't know, 2 weeks, she came back saying like, oh yeah, sorry, I was, I don't know, a little bit busy with something else. Can I still do something? And I said, oh, okay, that's a bit weird, but okay, let's give it another try. And then after another week, disappears again. And I'm like, oh, okay, no, definitely this is not the way I want to collaborate with somebody. Because for me, connection is really important, especially human connection. I want to not just have somebody that helps me to do some tasks, but somebody that understands the core aspects of this practice in order to then add value to it. And the other person, it was an immense struggle because, and still today is, like, her relationship with spreadsheet is a mess. Like every time she puts hands on a spreadsheet, I'm like, oh gosh. Or other things like graphically and so on. But at the end, her consistency was there, her passion was there, her determination to create healthy human connections was there. And I felt somebody with whom I could also rely in the moments that I was in crisis, because often I would be like, oh no, this stuff is not going the way I want. The events are not filling up. I need to cancel them. And she was there saying like, don't worry. This is not gone. We learn from it and we move on, and the next one will be better. And this person is still today, after 5, almost 6 years, with me in this endeavor. Funny enough, though, I think it was 2.5 years ago, she also had a daughter. So then we needed to search for somebody else, and slowly the team was expanding. And at the moment, team that are working for Play Fight, I think we are about 6. And some people are giving more hours, some people less hours. Unfortunately, I'm the one still that dedicates most of the hours. I would love to have somebody that has as much as dedication as me, but at the moment is not the case. And that's okay. That's what it is. But surrounded, like, so imagine like there is this core of 6 people, and then there is all the facilitators that I've been training during these years that, I mean, not all of them. Some, they prefer doing their own things. Some, they even let go because they realized that was not what they truly wanted to do. But a bunch of them really see the value of this practice and see the importance that we are a collective in it, that we support each other. And just a week ago, actually, we had the first tribe gathering in the sense of like facilitators coming together. Facilitators are also people which are really enthusiastic, even if they are not seeing themselves as facilitators, which is completely okay. And we were 40 people, a bit outside of Zurich in nature, spending 5 days together and working on different aspects. And we were a mix of structured space. So in the morning, we as a Play Fight organization, we were bringing some activities. Some were made for connecting, some were making for going into certain topics that we wanted to understand more the perspective of the community. And in the afternoon was open space, so everybody could bring different things. And it was interesting because massages and body-oriented practices were the one that was having most success. But I mean, it makes sense. It's the kind of people we are. Like we love body, we love movement, we love sharings, we love emotions. Yeah, and so that's how it is right now. For the future, The future is very exciting, but also scary a little bit, because if we want, because my vision is that play fight becomes a global movement. It becomes actually a language, like if I want to connect with you, Marco, I can talk to you. We can go together and have a tea. We can, if we would like to do that, we can watch football together. So there are certain languages of connection. And I would love that play fight becomes a language of connection. As easy as I can say, like, let's have a tea. I can say, hey, Marco, let's have a play fight. It becomes part of the acknowledged ways that as humans we have to connect. And we have it. It's literally written in our DNA. There are scientific studies that says that play fighting, as much as cuddling, are the most natural ways to actually create connection and growth. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, the society we live in doesn't really give so much space to this. Same for cuddling, but cuddling in a way is a little bit easier to get. But play fight, not yet. So my battle is to have that as a democratic tool of connection, mm-hmm. and also to have that as a deep, profound way, therapeutic way to support people to look at what are the aspects that stops them from achieving the life that they long for, that they long to live. That's the question that I always ask them whenever we are doing a process work play fight, an intentional play fight. What are you longing for? What are you really longing for? And once that's clear, once I really know what I long for, then it's possible to make concrete steps to fulfill that longing and having that sense of fulfillment. But first it needs to have that clarity. And so that's where I would like to go. A place where the world embraces play fight, and there are a group of highly trained quality facilitators and coaches and therapists that use play fight in this deepest form.
Thank you, Matteo. That was a very beautiful picture, and at the same time, it gives the spread that you are working, like coaching, therapy, playfulness. You are touching in a lot of different contexts and realms, and that is beautiful, and also new for me, because we didn't spoke about this, I think, for more than 2 years or something around that. And it's amazing to see what happened and how it's growing, and suddenly I start listening play fight for completely different sides that I was not expecting. Yeah, this will happen. Okay, it's really happening. It's there and it's happening. Yeah, thank you, Matteo. I also want to honor the people that we spoke. Diogo Ruivo, you can find Diogo Ruivo in Aljur, in Moagem, and Joana from Montorada. I can also put the links here from them and honor the contributions that they are giving to the world, because they are giving a lot. Like I said, Diogo for me is one of the invisible leaders, the leader that serve, the servant leadership that we have in Portugal is very invisible, but a lot of practice, a lot of stuff came from him, including the possibility manager. It was Diogo that invite and bring the Clinton and the people in that time to Portugal, and also Winston and several. And I really enjoy that invisible way of Diogo making magic and doing the stuff. It's really amazing.
Yeah,
I want to honor that. And what it was the steps that you did. I think you have a very interesting story for people that are hearing, yes, particularly the youngest ones. Mm-hmm. What was the main steps that you did for being here today? Like, not only with play fight, I imagine that play fight is your life today, like family and play fight. I imagine that is something like this, and that you also make your money and pay your bills from the activity that you do with play fight. That is huge. You support events, you train people, and you do a lot of other stuff. How it was the since you choose where to start in family or in the college, you choose. what was the main milestones that you go through in your history that make you here, Matteo? Because in this conversation, there is a lot of stuff that is invisible, but are very important. Like you speak that you use open space and you are in a circle with people and you are in nature. And this kind of stuff that is said in a very simple way is saying that you already live in a completely different culture from the mainstream people. And that didn't started from like this. It started with a point and you did that steps. Can you talk a little bit about that, about your journey to really now live a kind of culture that you want to live, that you are helping, not only you are living there, as you are also helping others to start living there. What was the journey to there? Your journey.
So I would say the two ingredients that I think were there from the very, very beginning, meaning like me being a kid, were one, as a set fire, like this determination to not content myself with what was offered, but say like, there's something that I want, that is not there, I make it happen. I remember when I was a kid, people would ask me, what do you want to do when you will be grown up? And I would say, I want to be an inventor. I want to invent things, to create things. Because sometimes I really would feel this frustration where I want something and I don't know where to get it. Okay, so what? I just put away my longing? No, I make it happen. So this, I think it was from me since the very beginning, this stubbornness to say, I create the things that I want to see. And of course, this often led me also to situations which were not that pleasant, or like irritation, frustration, when these things were not capable to, or were not the right time, or I didn't have the right ingredients, whatever. So often I find myself into this like, I want to do that, but I don't manage to do, or to make it happen the way I want. And Play Fight brings a lot of this kind of frustrations, I can guarantee you. But I think it's a little bit of the course of those which are a little bit visionaries, that they, oh yeah, this is how I want it, and then sometimes the way to reach it is not as linear, as easy as in my mind it would be pictured. And the second ingredient is about relationships, specifically about one-to-one relationships. I remember asking my mom, because I've always looked for deep bondings, especially in my sentimental relationships. It was like, okay, it's not that I live here, you live there, and we see sometimes when we feel like maybe on the weekend, like for me, a relationship was like, okay, let's go on a travel together, or I move to your place, you move to my place, we go in the middle of nowhere in the countryside of Alentejo, south of Portugal, and we make a family there. Like this intensity of connection was always something very precious to me. And I asked my mom, was I like this from the beginning? She was like, yeah, we will go to holidays, and we will be somewhere in the south of Italy for a week, and on the first day, maximum on the second day, you had your best friend, and with your bestie you would do everything. Literally. And then after 2 weeks you would say goodbye, then we will move to another place, to another part of the seaside, and you will have another bestie. So I think these two aspects were something that I bring almost as part of my DNA, or of my early development. Now, regarding all the rest of the things that followed, I think what really helped me was in a painful way, to go through high school, mid school and high school, and having really a hard time to connect, because I found, probably is in general adolescence, but specifically, I really had a hard time to create genuine connections with my classmates, for example. was easier to create or to feel connections with my primary school mates that then sometimes I would meet. But with the new ones, I found a lot of struggles to really create common ground, as if everything would be about like, are you cool or not cool? Are you into this football team or this other football team? Are you into this music or this other music? Because if you're not the kind of music that I like, then I don't like you. And for me, it felt like, ugh. And I didn't want to choose because, to be honest, I love rock and I love commercial music. I didn't really care if this match win or this other win. The one that plays better wins, and I'm happy for them. That was my way of thinking, which it was not fitting into that kind of I don't know, culture that I was into. And so out of that struggle, my vitality, I think, also honestly, kind of like dropped. I felt like was getting a bit more, I don't know, bitter. And then when high school was over, I was like, okay, now it's my time. Now I can choose a university that I really want. And funny enough, like, at that time, I didn't even have the imagination that could be something different than university. That was just the highway, like, oh, that's what you do after high school, especially the kind of high school that I did, you do university. And I didn't even think of like, I can do university anywhere in the world. If I really want to do university, I can go anywhere. No, it was like, I do it in my city because my family lives here and I live in the house and I don't want to spend money for rent. And so even in my idea that I have now finally the choice, my choice was actually very limited. And I noticed this only later on. But still, this idea of a choice gave me the determination to say, now I create the reality that I want. And then I studied design. And I choose design because of two reasons. One, it felt closer to this inventor dream that I had. And second, because there was no math. Because I remember math was something that was getting me so like hard stuck in my head that I didn't want to have that feeling. And I'm really glad that I chose it, to be honest, because the teachers were most of them were really great. And the master degree specialization of that was about systemic change. So our main teacher was a very special man, very stubborn in his way, but also very inspiring. So a badass / pain in the ass kind of person. But I felt very inspired by this old man that was like fighting for what is important for his vision and his values, and he really instilled this thing in me is like, do the things that are important for you, follow your heart, but follow your values, your ethics, and try to observe life in a systemic way. So it really teaches me the importance that what I do affects others. My outcomes can affect others and can be outcomes, destructive outcomes, for the environment or for another person, or can be constructive, meaning that what I emit, what I put out, can become an input for somebody else. So yeah, somehow like this was the inspiration for me to actually say, okay, now let's think in a more systemic way. And then I bring together these two things, the idea of like, what if instead of using the systemic design approach for objects, for inanimate stuff, I would use it for humans and human relationships. And that's where I became so passionate about human relationships. So I actually had a major existential crisis after university because I realized that all these beautiful ideas that I had were not really what the work market wanted. Was more like aesthetic and marketing and redesign things so that they can sell more. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so horrible. I don't want that. So I left Italy, I left my family, and I went to Lisbon, actually. That's when we met at João de Deus, I think. And
yeah.
exactly, Joseph Samir. And and there I was like, I met Vincenzo, another inspiring person that showed me how through play he had this beautiful concept of like let's bring together play to support kids that have lack of quality education. It's so genial. We need to do that, of course. And and together with another person, we started also another social enterprise about how to recycle old material into new materials and so on and so forth. Then both enterprises actually failed. And I went also in another crisis. But I remember at that time, because during my first time I watched it and it really helped me. So at that time I said, I am going to watch it again. And it's the TED Talk with Simon Sinek. I think that the title is Start with the Why. And in that TED Talk, basically, he shares how important it is to focus on the why, the purpose, why you do things, and not exactly what you do. Because what you do, I mean, this is my interpretation, okay? That what you do can fail. But if you are coherent with the why, you will not feel as a failure. You fail things, but I'm not a failure. I actually succeeded in determination to achieve what is really my purpose. And I remember basically it was a big crisis because also the house where I was living, they said, like, you need to leave in 2 weeks. And my girlfriend broke up with me and it was a mess in that period. They even stole my credit card, so I was without money. So I said, okay, they are anyway going to tear down this house. So I'm going to make this golden circle, this thing that Simon Sinek illustrates, on the wall of my room. And I had a big wall and I started to draw these things and with markers write stuff inside. We posted, stick it around. And I realized that all my whys were fulfilled. Were really fulfilled. Like these 2 years in Lisbon fulfilled all the purposes that I had to come there. Now, all the what's, the project that I had, they failed miserably. But through that failing, I actually learned big lessons. So I felt actually empowered. And then was the funny synchronicity is that somebody wrote me. I said, like, hey, you have a social enterprise. I really like your project. Would you mind to share with other people and make a speech out of it? I'm like, I actually failed. And it doesn't matter. You can share that story. Like, okay. And then I shared this story in front of people and they loved it. And they said, like, we want you also to share it there and to share it there and to share it there. At the end, they gave me 5,000 euro to travel all over Europe and share my stories of failure towards young adults to support basically people to see how social entrepreneurship is different from normal entrepreneurship and how important it is to also embrace the concept of failure, that it happens, it's okay. But at the end, the core, it was always the same. It was about relationship and going for what you want and not let yourself be stopped by the failing, but things failing around, let's say. Yeah, those were big elements of my journey. And then from there, I went to Brazil to study alternative education and therapy. Then when I was completely finished with the money, I said, okay, come back to Europe. There is where I met Clinton Callahan, the founder of Possibility Management. And I remember watching him at work. And with a part of my brain, I was enjoying what was happening. So I was as a participant. And another part of my brain was like, wow, I want to be like that. Professionally trying to understand how that man was working and how he was literally like bringing the space to such a level of depth that I'm like, this is the level of depth that I long for and I long to offer. So after this workshop, I went to him and said, like, hey, so how do I get like you? I literally told him this. And he said, like, well, you need to do your inner work and then you can do it. I'm like, okay, you give me the next event that you're doing so that I come and do my inner work. And so I started the journey to become a trainer of possibility management. And I became that. I think it was one of the youngest and the one that took the least time to do it because I was so committed to it. But then what I realized is that some aspects of that game world, of that context, didn't resonate fully with me. I could resonate with maybe 70%, but there was a 30% that it was frictioning. And as usual in my life, when I don't feel something 100%, I end up having an inner struggle. But at that time, actually, the inner struggle was more like, how can I really bring what I am, not what I should be according to that context? So I started to adapt it the way I could. But then I realized, okay, if I keep adapting it, making it what it really is for me, then it will start to create differences with what is out there with that name. So maybe I take a little break. And that was exactly the time where Play Fight knocked at my door. And then I remember I had an expander box planned in Switzerland for it was summer, I think it was July. And my partner at that time, the mother of my son, she said, but if you have struggles with this, and if you are now all on fire for Play Fight, why don't you change? Why instead of offering an expander box, you offer a Play Fight retreat? And I'm like, it's a brilliant idea. But I don't know, will there be enough people interested in play fighting for 3 consecutive days? And what if they're not? And she said, like, well, until you try, you wanna know. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then I had the event full. It was insane. Like, it was in the middle of Zurich. My first retreat of play fight was a complete success. And it's funny because lately I met somebody that was there. She said she was completely struggling with the practice and the intensity of the space, but then she realized that after she could integrate a lot of that, and then she came afterwards more play fights. But it was interesting to meet her afterwards. Yeah, and I think that has been the journey. Like, of course, I can mention many more inspiring meetings that I had in Brazil. There's a person that blew my mind and blew my heart. Actually, his name is Edgar Gouveia. Is the founder of another beautiful. It's called Guerreiros Sem Armas, uh, Warriors Without Weapons, I think. And his approach to life and the way he connects to people was for me like, wow. If Clinton was representing the warrior with weapon, with a sword, and going really with this male young energy, pointing at where he wants to go with clear determination, then Edgar would be the opposite, would be yin, still with a lot of clarity, but embrace would be the word that I would see for him. And I think bringing these two worlds together was forming who I am. So bringing playfulness and care with determination and assertivity, clarity, at the same time, compassion, like having these things weaving together. Yes, I think that would be the resume of it.
Wow. Wow, what a journey, Matteo. Thank you. Thank you for that picture. That was beautiful to go in your journey with you. It was really amazing. And we are talking almost for 1 hour about this road, this path, this journey. And yeah, I was also connecting with you where we met in João Semedo, and was very interesting to dance. I was supporting you in the ventures that you are doing in social entrepreneur. And after you disappeared completely for several years, and when we come back again, you receive me in possibility management and support me in the process of possibility management. The wow, we change the beautiful that and we still connected from there. We stay connected from there. And about 3-4 years ago, I don't know, maybe there, when we collaborate for trying to build that eco village at Pinho do Agora, if I remember well, and that we are as peers. We are not serving one or another. No, we are really co-creating something together. We have this dance between us, and yeah, it's beautiful. And thank you for also bringing that to my space, our story. And it was really beautiful to see what happened in the last years with you and with Play Fight. And thank you for that. It was really amazing to go in this journey with you. And you already did that in a way. And I'd like that this last question give you the choice to close the space with your essence. What is your essence?
What is my essence?
Yes.
What a hard question. It's funny because I'm asking myself a lot this question lately. think is about what's the direction of the heart? What is one's heart, my heart? But then I try to inspire others to ask the same. Like, what is my heart deeply longing for? And how can I move all the rest in that direction? So therefore, whatever limit, whatever handbrake I feel inside of me, because most of the limits are just inside, how can I transform them? How can I see this as an opportunity to grow even stronger and there, boom, even with more determination towards that? And at the same time, if sometimes there comes a roadblock, which could be maybe from inside, but also from another relationship, also having the courage to slow down. That's another big learning that I want to integrate more. The capacity of saying, okay, maybe it doesn't happen today, and that's fine. Yeah. So I think the essence is that, like the heart with feet that move forward.
Thank you, Matteo. Thank you. It was really a pleasure to connect with you and have this conversation.
Thank you, Arco.
Até já.